All right, let's do this. Your big test on the American Revolution is coming up, and this is your final, super fast review. We're going to lock in everything you absolutely, positively have to know.
Look, you've already done the hard work, right? Think of this as that last little boost to make sure you walk in there feeling like you totally own this stuff.
Okay, no time to waste. Let's dive in. We are cutting out all the fluff. We're only hitting the must-know facts, the stuff that's practically guaranteed to show up on your test.
So first things first, why did this whole thing even kick off? You know, it really just boils down to one thing. Money. Simple as that. Britain was broke after the French and Indian War, and they needed cash. So they looked at the colonies and thought, hey, you guys can help pay for this.
So how'd they try to get that money? Well, they passed a bunch of new acts, basically new taxes, and they were super specific. First up, you've got the Sugar Act in '64. That was on stuff like molasses. Then a year later, bam, the Stamp Act. This one was huge. It taxed all paper. I mean, everything. Legal papers, newspapers, even your playing cards. And if that wasn't enough, the Townshend Acts of '67 taxed everyday stuff like tea and glass. So what's the one thing you need to remember? It was all about specific taxes to pay off that war debt. That's the spark that lit the fire.
Okay, so all this tension is building up. But you gotta remember, history isn't just about events, it's about people. Every good story has its heroes, right? The revolution is no different. Let's talk about the main characters you absolutely need to know for this test.
For the test, it's all about matching the name to the job. It's that simple. So let's do a quick rundown. George Washington, commander of the whole Continental Army. Easy. Thomas Jefferson, he's your writer. He wrote the Declaration of Independence. Ben Franklin, he's the diplomat, the guy we sent to France to get help. Crispus Attucks, a really important name to remember. He was tragically the first person killed at the Boston Massacre. And John Paul Jones? Think Navy. He's called the father of the U.S. Navy. Just lock in those main jobs.
And hey, speaking of Jefferson, you have to know this phrase. It's a big one. He's the one who defined our unalienable rights as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Seriously, if you remember one quote, make it this one. It's foundational, and it is definitely going to be on the test.
All right, let's get to the action, the war itself. Now, this wasn't just one long, endless fight. It was a series of really important moments, these key turning points that decided everything.
So where did the actual shooting start? Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts. This is it. This is the famous shot heard round the world. This is where the war officially kicks off.
But you know, winning a war isn't always about the big battles. Sometimes it's just about surviving. And nothing, I mean nothing, shows that more than Valley Forge. This wasn't a battle against soldiers. This was a battle against freezing cold, starvation, and disease. It's just an incredible testament to the grit and determination of Washington's troops.
Okay, now if your brain only has room for one battle, make it this one, Saratoga. You have to know Saratoga. Why? Because it was the single biggest turning point of the entire war. But what made it such a big deal?
Well, it comes down to two simple things. First, it was a huge victory for the Americans, a massive morale boost. But second, and listen, this is the real game changer. This win showed France that, hey, maybe these colonists could actually pull this off. And that was enough. France officially jumped in as our ally. We're talking money, ships, soldiers, the whole deal. This changed everything.
So, with France now in our corner, the stage was set for the grand finale, the final showdown. That's the Battle of Yorktown. This is where, with the help of the French Navy, the Americans trapped the main British army. They had nowhere to go, and they were forced to surrender. This was pretty much the end of the line for them.
And just to give you a sense of how big this was, check out what Abigail Adams wrote back in 1781. They captured not one, but two of Britain's top generals and their entire armies of veteran troops. I mean, come on, that's not just a win, that's checkmate.
Okay, so the fighting's over. The war is won. But how do you make it, official? You need a contract, a treaty. Let's talk about the piece of paper that officially ended the war and put the United States of America on the map.
That paper was the Treaty of Paris, signed in 1783. And it had one main, absolutely monumental job: to get Great Britain to finally say, out loud and on paper, okay, you win. The United States is its own independent country.
Now, for your test, you need to know the two biggest takeaways from this treaty. Ready? Number one, Britain recognizes U.S. independence. We just said that. Super important. And number two, The new western border of the United States was set at the Mississippi River. And trust me, that little detail is going to shape the next 100 years of American history.
All right, that was a lot of info, I know. So let's zoom out and boil it all down. What's the one-sentence summary? What's the whole story of the Revolution in a nutshell?
It's this simple. A fight that started over taxes ended with the birth of a brand new nation with its own borders. That's it. It's the story of how we went from arguing over a Stamp Act to drawing a line at the Mississippi River. That's the whole journey.
And I'll just leave you with this little thought experiment to noodle on after you've aced your test. What if that treaty had stopped the U.S. border at the Appalachian Mountains? How different would America be today? Just think about that. All right, good luck. You are totally going to crush this.